Hey friends, welcome tonight. My name's Serena for those of you who don't know me, and I'm so excited to launch this week's sermon with you guys. So let me pull it up here. So today we're diving into week 4 of our series Wonder that we've been talking about. And these past few weeks we've been talking about natural wonders. So Joey helped us to explore the Grand Canyon, where he talked about how it's such a vast environment and it has so many dangers and wildlife and all of these troubles, and yet God still finds a way to provide, even for the smallest of birds there. And last week we had Miss Erin showing us the Victoria Falls and how it provides its key source for wildlife and plants. So I have a question for you guys. Can anyone tell me what the largest reef in the world is? Any ideas? Shout it out if you have it. Or make guesses. Ding, 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 ding. So that's what we're going to be talking about today on our first slide, the Great Barrier Reef. So this is located in Australia, and it's the world's largest reef. It doesn't seem that big, but it is so huge. Do you guys know you can see it from space? You can see this from space. That is insane. It is home to so many species of shark, fish, eels, plants, seaweed, you name it. And there's a problem with this, though. Since 1995, over half of the Great Barrier Reef has died because of rising water temperatures thanks to global warming. So the warm water kills off this coral that inhabits all these species of life. But thankfully, scientists have put their brains together to come up with a plan to hopefully restore the reef to its former glory. So this week, we're talking about we worship because God can heal. Joey. We worship because God can heal. There we go. So to all get on the same page for our definition of wonder, though, we're going to be talking about wonder like how Mr. Juan said, which is the next slide. Thank you. So wonder is a feeling of surprise and admiration caused by something beautiful, unfamiliar, or inexplicable. So for me, seeing a plan for restoring God's life is wondrous. It's amazing how a team can come together with so many different backgrounds to help take care of God's creation when it needs it most. And no matter what hardships they faced, they stayed resilient. So by a show of hands, how many of you guys have broken a bone before? Right? How many of you guys now had to use crutches before from an under injury? Right. So we need so many different kinds of healing. We need healing not only from physical injuries, like if you break a toe or you're in a boot for several times, like Anson over here, but maybe we need them from also emotions, relationships, or maybe even memories. So I think we can all relate to hoping for restoration after life's curveballs in some way. So for me, one example is I had a super close-knit friendship in elementary through middle school. And I thought these guys were my ride or dies, like High School Musical, we were all besties, everyone knew each other. And however, as we changed in middle and high school, I lost most of those friendships. I felt alone, and I just wanted restoration. I just wanted to have those friends back and feel like I belonged again. But I could never guess God's plan to bring me here today. He's opened doors for new friendships that I'm blessed to have that fulfill me now, and they ultimately bring him closer to him and Jesus. And they're with me side by side through life's rough spots. I can never ask for better friends. So these broken situations that we have, they make us want healing. We may feel worn out, like we can't continue. However, through resilience, healing is a promise made by God. So when we go through these hardships, we can lean on God for hope and guidance. So we're going to be looking at our first piece of scripture, and we're going to be taking a look at Psalms, which we have been for a little bit, and they help us explore our relationship with God through our highs and lows. So we're going to be taking a look at chapter 69, verses 13 through 18. So it says, "But I keep praying to you, Lord, hoping this time you will show me favor. In your unfailing love, O God, answer my prayer with your sure salvation. Rescue me from the mud. Don't let me seek any deeper. Save me from those who hate me and pull me from those deep waters. Don't let the floods overwhelm me, or the deep waters shallow me, or the pit of death devour me. Answer my prayers, O Lord, for your unfailing love is wonderful. Take care of me, for your mercy is so plentiful. Don't hide from your servant. Answer me quickly, for I'm in deep trouble. Come and redeem me, free me from my enemies." So, have you guys ever feel like you could relate to this before? I know I can. I've definitely wanted God to rescue me when I felt hopeless. And I felt that way because I only focused on the negative instead of what God was actually doing for me. And that's a big part I think that we can all relate in. So I want you guys to know that no matter what we're facing, or if you feel like there's no way out of a situation, we can turn to God. This doesn't mean God instantly makes things better, but you can believe like the psalmist that God can help you get through it. So this prayer that we just talked about reminds us that God works in ways we can never guess. His ways of restoration for us can look completely different from the path that we want to take and can almost seem like a harder path rather than putting life on easy mode. We have to be honest about what we need and hope for, which is God's restoration. When we realize this, he is always here to protect and lead us. No matter what we're facing, he's always present with us through hard times, even when it doesn't feel like he is. So, I know many of us can say we've prayed these kind of prayers before. For some, it's maybe your first response when you've been hurt or damaged. So I want you guys to turn to your neighbors and ask, when do you ask for healing or restoration? So in these same ways that we long for healing now, people have longed for healing in Jesus' time too. Even with God's Son present on earth, it didn't mean the world would never have brokenness. So we're going to be looking at our second piece of scripture, which is Luke chapter 13, verses 10 through 17. So it says, one Sabbath day, as Jesus was teaching in a synagogue, he saw a woman who had been crippled by an evil spirit. She had been bent double over for 18 years and was unable to stand up straight. When Jesus saw her, he called her over and said, "Dear woman, you're healed of your sickness." Then he touched her, and she instantly could stand straight. How she praised God. But the leader in charge of the synagogue was indignant that Jesus had healed her on the Sabbath day. There are 6 days of the week for working, he said to the crowd. Come on those days to be healed, not on the Sabbath. But the Lord replied, "You hypocrites, each one of you works on the Sabbath day. Don't you untie your ox or your donkey from its stall on the Sabbath and lead it out for the water? This dear woman, a daughter of Abraham, has been held in bondage by Satan for 18 years. Isn't it right that she be released even on the Sabbath?" This shamed his enemies, but all the people rejoiced at the wonderful things he did. So this is incredible what Jesus did in his time. It was believed that people with injuries, disabilities, or something must have done something to deserve it. And so she was heavily judged, and she didn't even do anything really to those people, but they saw her crippled by that demon, and they immediately had their mind set to that. And yet Jesus saw her, he spoke a few words, and she was instantly healed. 18 years of her chronic pain were gone. Can you imagine that? And the first thing she did, she worshiped. So there was so much joy surrounding this miracle, like we talked about. And yet the religious leaders had to find a reason to be upset with Jesus. This was performed on the Sabbath day when no one was supposed to work. They expected God to stick to their expectations and rules, but they questioned him instead of choosing to focus on the good of the woman who was healed. This reminded them of their willingness. Jesus reminded them. He told them, "You are willing to make exceptions to the law, caring for your animals, but yet you won't let me make an exception for God's people." All the people witnessing this miracle were in the same room, and yet only some chose to respond with worship. So when we ask for healing, it can happen in ways we would never expect. Sometimes all I want is for an immediate fix. God to snap his fingers, make everything better, like the miracle of the woman today. However, that's not always the case. Healing takes time. It can happen in ways we never guess. So I have 3 takeaways for you guys today. The first way we can take this talk into our lives is to move closer to Jesus. As we can't physically be closer to Jesus like the woman, we need to look for ways to keep Jesus close in our everyday lives. So that could be through prayer, scripture, or loving others like him. The second thing we can do is to call out for help. And we all know how hard it is to ask a question during math class, but with our personal problems, it feels even harder to ask for help in our community. So even when you're scared, I want you guys to ask for healing, because Jesus gave us community for this reason. Community in life is easier done when we're together. So we look out for each other, and we want to see others thrive. We don't want to see each other do terribly in life. And when you guys feel like you have nobody in your circle, I want you guys to remember you always have this youth group. You have amazing leaders who come here every week who are dedicated to listen to you, to talk with you. And they're just amazing people who can help you through when you don't know what's going on. And I know these students here can support you. Even if you don't consider everyone here your friend, I think everyone would be more than happy to listen and to be there for you. And the third thing I want you guys to do is trust when it doesn't make sense. Because we never, ever know God's plans. For the woman, her suffering didn't end for 18 years. It didn't make sense to her at all. Can you imagine 18 years of being like, God, it's about time, 18 years, can I just have this go away? We will never know God's planning nor his timing. So we can only trust that he knows what he's doing and he's going to take care of us, even if it's a little bit rocky.